There you have it. Very interesting statements just now from Vice President J.D. Vance. He has spent time today in Minneapolis trying to cool down the temperature, the very tense situation that we have seen on the ground between ICE officials and protesters in Minneapolis, with very little assistance from any law enforcement on the ground. And I think the big message here was, can you meet us halfway? Can you help us with some of these interactions? And he laid out a number of things with regard to better cooperation. And he said, but you can't be telling protesters the names and doxing the faces and addresses of ICE agents if you want to meet halfway. With that, let's bring in Jonathan Fahey, who was watching this along with us, former acting ICE director, former DHS Deputy Assistant Secretary, former federal prosecutor, and now a Holtzman Vogel partner. So someone who's been deeply entrenched in all of this infrastructure around ICE and around Homeland Security. So, Jonathan, always good to have you with us. What's your reaction to this, I think very forceful and very forward-leaning day from the vice president in Minneapolis?
I thought it was great because he really outlined what the issues are here and how they can be solved to the point where there isn't the chaos and all of this stuff going on. And what's really important here is when he compares it to the other cities, and even places like Chicago didn't have this level of problems because they had more support from the local police. And I like the way he outlined when, and I was a federal prosecutor 17 years. We always worked with the locals, and that's the way you solve the most crime the most efficiently. But when he was talking about you need help finding a sex offender and things like that, that should be common sense for everybody, no matter where they come out on the immigration issue. And you do have these people, I hate to say it, but it really is political, with Waltz and Frey that are doing everything they can really to obstruct ICE and doing their job. And just the one point I'm so glad he made, and we're talking about it a lot now, but ICE and this administration has done so much to make our country safer. I mean, we're going to have the lowest murder rate since, I think they said 1900, and probably before that, we just don't have accurate records. So they are making people safer, not just in Minneapolis, but everywhere else. But I'm really glad he went in there saying, hey, we want to meet you halfway, we want to cooperate, because, what they're doing, again, they are enforcing the laws that they are required to enforce, and it's an important principle of federalism that the administration continues to enforce laws. We can't have people like Jacob Frey or Tim Waltz essentially vetoing federal law.
Yeah, he said that he did not meet with Governor Waltz today as part of this. Maybe that is something that could happen down the road to calm things down. We'll see. I thought it was very interesting, Jonathan. He was asked, because a lot of the questions surrounded individual actions that have been reported in the local news about apprehensions and things that are very, in some cases, difficult to watch. One of them involved a child who was taken into custody with his father. So J.D. Vance's response to that, the vice president's response was, I've been there. I've watched as members of my family were arrested, and let me tell you, it's not easy. But he said, and I'm paraphrasing what he said here, he said, being a parent does not put you above the law either. Your reaction to that moment?
I thought it was really important that he made that point because, again, as a prosecutor for years and years, a lot of the people you're prosecuting, almost all of them, it seems like, have children, and their prosecution removes people from their families and from their kids, and it's a necessary part of the process. And I do think when you take a look at a lot of these individual incidents, and I don't know any of them with enough specificity to comment on them, but I do know historically when we've seen these things, sometimes the first impression of something doesn't end up being what's ultimately true. We remember from sort of Michael Brown, hands up, don't shoot, and things like that. So I do think a lot of times we need to always take a step back and let things unfold. But the reality of it is, if you're going to enforce the law, it's going to be not only difficult on the people that the law is being enforced on, but also their families. But the greater societal good is we have a safer community, and that's the essential bargain we make as part of a society.
Well put. Jonathan Fahey, former ICE, DHS, and prosecutor. Always great to get your insights. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.